Good morning, this is Kim, and today I want to talk with you about money management. Specifically, what we're going to do in class this week should be very clear after listening to this video. So, I want to point out that in your weekly folder, you will have a file, an Excel file called Financial Plan. Need you to open that up and note that on the bottom you have 4 worksheets within this workbook. The first one is net worth, second is cash flow, third is financial goals, and lastly is action plan. Today I'm going to talk about the first two, net worth and cash flow. And the other worksheets will be covered at a different time, so we will continue to build on this entire workbook until the end of class. So let me start by clicking on the first tab, Net Worth, which pops up this accounting statement called a balance sheet. And you'll note on the balance sheet, over here we have assets, on this side we have liabilities. And then within the asset side we have a description and an amount in dollars, and over here we have something similar, description and amount. So here's how I would advise you to complete a balance sheet. Over here, let's start on this side. Each of you will think about your life and determine what you have in the form of an asset. Now, an asset up here, type on this a little bit, asset, something you own, okay? Something you own that has value, that's not like the clothes on your back or the furniture you use, but rather something in the form of an investment that you could potentially sell and make money. So if I was to list some of the most common assets for students, it might start out with savings. Okay? Most of you have a savings account of a certain amount, and when you sit down and do this, you're going to put the amount in your savings account at that time. So let's say in your savings account you have $250. Another common asset students have is a car. You have a car. And the value you're going to use here is going to be the market value. This would be the resale value. If you sold it today, how much could you receive for the car? Other types of assets might be a house. You own a house. And again, it's that market value. What is that house worth today if you were going to sell it? Another thing, maybe you have some stocks. Okay? Put the current value on those. Retirement account could be another one. This would be the current balance. What is the balance in your retirement account today? And we can go on and on. Maybe you have a particular collection, artwork, etc. It could be a collection again that you could sell and make money. You might have a boat. You might have a motorcycle. Some students will put down a computer, and it's okay to do that, but typically it's not an asset in this form. You could sell it and make some money, but I'm really looking for things that you have that are perhaps appreciating in value, but not necessarily. Now that I've just said that, I want to talk about a car and a boat and a motorcycle. While these are assets on your balance sheet, they are not the type of assets that we want to grow our money with. For example, these are depreciating assets. The value of your car today is worth more than the value of your car next month, most likely, because your car decreases in value every day. Similarly, a boat and a motorcycle would do the same thing. So we don't want to grow our net worth down here on assets that are depreciating in value. Rather, we want to look towards savings, stocks, retirement account, house, assets that will appreciate in value over time. Now, also I want to touch on life insurance. So often people want to include the face value of their life insurance policy, and the face value would be what the policy's worth upon your death. So maybe you have a $250,000 life insurance policy and you consider that an asset. Well, in fact, that is not an asset for you because it's only based on your death. So it's not money that is for you, it's for your beneficiary or somebody else. However, if you do have a life insurance policy that has a cash value, that value you can include as an asset because it is money available to you if you decide to cancel your policy or potentially borrow against it. So we could have on here life insurance cash value. And I think you understand now what I'm talking about. These are assets. Again, you either use the value at the time you sit down and complete this worksheet, like a picture value, or you're going to look up the market value. You're going to add up all these, put all these values in here, and then you're going to let the worksheet add up your total assets. So the formulas are already built in. Okay, next we're going to pop over to this side and we're going to talk about liabilities. Instead of something you own, this is something you owe. Very different. Going to say straight up front, something you owe, not your phone bill, not your current PG&E bill, and not your rent, but rather these are the big balances you owe. I'm going to start with your student loan balance. Not your payment. Capture your payment. All payments will capture on a different worksheet, the cash flow worksheet down here. Right here, we want the aggregate, the balance you owe. So let's say you owe $15,000 in student loans on the day you do this. Another typical liability would be credit card balances. How much do you owe in the aggregate to credit cards? Let's say that's $2,000. Other typical liabilities include a mortgage. Maybe they include a car loan. Maybe they include a parking tickets. Maybe they include you owe the IRS, big balance. Often I see medical bills. This is where you are continuing to pay off a hospital or a dentist or someone over time. And again, we're not capturing the payment. I just want that balance. Unfortunately, another type of liability I see often are mobile companies. This would be AT&T, Verizon, possibly because you were engaged in a contract with this company and then you decided to move to another cell phone company and didn't finish out your contract here. So they potentially sent you to a collection agency and now you owe a balance. Think about this. You may owe a family member. So when you are done putting in everything you owe, also finishing up this everything you own as an asset, you're going to take your total assets, subtract your total liabilities, and you're going to end up with a net worth. This is what you're worth today. And if you look on here, this net worth is negative, and that is not uncommon. You'd be surprised. Negative net worth means you owe more than you own. It is what it is. Here's the deal. This is not a judgment call on you. This is our starting point. Our starting point this week. We are going to calculate individual net worth with the goal that we can only improve this number by practicing what we learned in this class. We can improve this number by increasing some of our assets, starting an investment plan, for example, in a Roth IRA. Or we can start tackling some of these liabilities, work on plans to make payment negotiations for medical bills, we can also start tackling credit card balances. Those are the type of things we want to do because ultimately our goal is to improve our net worth, and we need to start working on it now, but we need to know where to start. So think of this, an analogy I might use is like a weight loss program. So we as a class are engaged in a weight loss program starting today. And probably the first thing we're going to do is weigh in. We're going to weigh in because we need to know if we're making any progress. So we weigh in today, and then a week from now we come back and weigh in, and hopefully we've lost weight. Well, similarly here, this is your starting point. And over the course of the next 16 weeks, we want to improve our net worth, and that could be making it less negative or making it more positive. But we have to do something. We already talked about that. We have to do something because financial peace of mind is our goal. We want financial stability in our life. We have way too many other things to worry about. And if we could take this off the plate by understanding the tools learned in this class, I think we'll all be just much better off. Okay, so that's balance sheet. Now I'm going to pop over here to the second worksheet, which is called the cash flow. And you can see this cash flow description, fixed and variable. I'm going to go over that in a minute. And then the months, September, October, November, and December. Well, guess what? September starts tomorrow. So this is a great time to start our cash flow. Here's how it works. Fixed costs. Fixed costs stay same amount each month. So think about it. What's the same amount each month? A typical expense would be rent, might be your gym membership, it might be your phone bill, etc. So your rent, for example, as a debit is $600 a month, and it's going to be $600 a month for the next 4 months. So you can go ahead and put this in because it's not going to change, even though we're not in December. And then your phone bill is whatever it is a month. So these are all fixed costs that do not change. Next, I want to compare that to variable costs. Actually contrast that. Variable costs do change every month, and they might include gas, okay? And grocery, and eating out, entertainment, daycare, everything you spend money on. Now, when I put grocery up here, that covers all grocery. So if you shop at Safeway, or you shop at Rayleigh's, or you shop at Winco, you can add all of those and include a single line item as grocery. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to consolidate some of these. This is not where you record individual expenditures. This is where we are going to summarize all of the expenditures that we have in these months, September, October, and November. We're going to capture all our fixed expenses and capture all our variable expenses. And you may say, well, how are we going to do that? And here is the answer. Starting tomorrow, you will start collecting information on every dollar you spend. If you wake up in the morning and you buy gas, you will record that transaction, the date, the amount, and what you bought. If you buy a water, you will record the water. In other words, every single dime you spend over the next 3 months will be recorded. And I will explain that again to you in your weekly homework summary discussion. But I just wanted you to know we won't be filling this worksheet out yet because we haven't collected all of our expenditures. At the end of September, we will then go back to this worksheet with all of our individual expenditures and start talking about where your money went over the month. Oh, it went here, it went to a gym, it went to grocery, maybe it went to a gift. Gifts can add up. Maybe it went to pet care. Maybe you had to do a car repairs. Remember other things on here. I can think of another fixed expense might be insurance. Okay? But this will come easily if we do a very good job of capturing all our expenditures. And again, why is this worksheet important? Because it helps us answer the question, where does my money go? We need to know that because we need to figure out where we can start saving some money on these expenditures so that we can add up here that you are now having an expense to your investment account. Or you potentially are having an expense to your credit card balance. Each of these will affect that net worth statement. And again, we're trying to grow our net worth by managing our cash flow, making better decisions about how we spend our money. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Again, worksheets all have the math in here. This worksheet is not due this week, not the cash flow. I'm going to pop back here though. This worksheet is. So I want you to be thinking about that. And I've also included a example in your weekly folder of a completed balance sheet. Okay, I will be talking with you soon about your next week's work. Thanks. Bye.